Today's Monday, March 20th, 2023. Please join me for a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, that's a good phone notification.
Yeah, well, scared.
One of my emergency things has ever gone off. Don't tell me, I have no idea why I did that. He was not looking for food, he was going to 10 West Street rather than stay, so he's coming back and we'll be here.
Okay.
So, our 5:30 appointment is Senator Olivera. He's running a little late, so, Chris, do you have anything you want to just kind of bring up for the time being?
One quick thing that came up, John LeBear, Finance Committee Chair, came and visited me today. I guess there's a joint meeting that's been set up between the Finance Committee and the School Committee.
Okay.
And they thought that the Select Board were involved in it. And he wanted to know if the Select Board would be attending and if the board would like to host the meeting. For Wednesday at 6:30?
Correct.
I don't know. Is anybody available? You available?
I'm available.
Yeah. Why did you know why you thought we were part of it?
Don't know. I told him, we knew nothing about it. We weren't involved with it.
No.
So, and the only way I think Kathy found out is he asked her to post a meeting for the Finance Committee.
What time is he looking for? Do you know?
6:30.
6:30. Have I missed that? Sorry.
I don't know, are you available, Crystal, or not?
So I did just actually anticipating, because you had sent out an email and asked if we were available, anticipating whether Mr. O'Vale, Senator, is actually coming to the other door now. But I talked to DLS and they said I can be involved, but nothing involved with the line item that involves either my insurance, or which I don't get through the town, or my payroll. So should I want to be part of the meetings, I can be. I just can't be involved with my payments. So, I know I get nervous about it because I don't want people to think that I'm approving something that's going to benefit me financially. So, when it comes to the budget, I think I'll remove myself from that discussion just for that reason.
Okay.
But she did say that I could be involved with the MSBA because it's not a direct profit to me. So.
I guess my question is, what is the Finance Committee looking from the Select Board for, or the School Committee?
I think it's to initiate discussions of the FY24 budget, if I believe.
And I had reached out to everybody about setting up the process like we did last year. At that point, Mr. LeBear had responded that, I don't want to misquote him, but something along the lines of he felt more comfortable if his entire board was present rather than him going back and forth.
And this board here discussed that, and the board wanted myself and Chris to take part in it instead of the whole board. We were okay with that. That's what we did last year, and we were okay with doing the same thing this year. So.
And we had our initial meeting, so.
Right.
I'm just trying to figure out, does the board wish to do that? Because the problem's gonna be is, I'm gonna be on another Zoom call with Pioneer Valley Planning Commission regarding the opioid settlement monies, and to see if maybe we can join with other communities to be able to offer better services to the opioid users. So that starts at 6. Okay, if we are going to host the meeting, I have to set up a Zoom here because one of the Finance Committee members is in Florida, and he wants to Zoom in. Okay, I won't be present for the discussion, and that's all I'm letting the board know.
I would rather reschedule the meeting if possible. I'd like you to be part of it, Chris, since you were part of the discussion that we had with the school committee's chair, as well with the superintendent of schools as well. So I think that's, I mean, you were part of that, and we talked about some different things during that meeting. So that's kind of where I am. I'd like to have you part of that meeting, if we're gonna move forward with it. I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but I think that was, and I know, like I said, prior to this, the discussion was that myself and you would represent the select board moving forward, so. Unless the board
And I
feels
re-
any different.
I remember that conversation.
But I
which
think
did
Chris
too.
should be involved too, because as the town accountant, I mean, he's
Yeah.
gotta put the final budget together. So I think he should be part of the conversation.
I would reach back out to the finance committee and to the school committee and ask if they can reschedule. Maybe send us some dates, if they want, I mean, the whole board be part of it. I don't think here in the board doesn't have a problem with that, but
Do we need
do we need
part
to
of it?
be? Yeah, that's my question. And the board was okay with us moving forward where it was just me and you.
I think we
unless it-
voted on that too, didn't we?
We did. Unless, there's something that they're looking for different, I guess. And I don't know that.
What were the conversations between you and John?
It's only been the email back and forth to try to set up a date to talk about the upcoming budget. So part of the reason that school committee identified tomorrow night was school committee has public forum posted for next Tuesday, public hearing for the following Tuesday, with the intention to vote on April 11th. And again, we did try to engage all the committees
Right.
in mid or late February.
Right, and that's, and when you had reached out to us, Steve, I said, I brought that up to the other members, and the members agreed that we would do as we did the previous year, as the chair for the select board, myself, and Mr. Martin as the town manager.
And just for your information, I sent Mr. Libera
Yeah.
a summary of the budget, similar to what I sent you and the school committee chair, with some details earlier today in preparation for that meeting. So I'm hopeful that at least the school committee and finance committee can have an initial discussion. Like you said, we had a meeting a couple weeks ago, yourself, our
Yeah.
chair, and Mr. Martin. So
I mean, if you want, I mean, obviously it's up to you and the school committee, if they want to meet, and then reschedule another meeting for that, if you would like myself and Mr. Martin there, I think we'd be glad to be part of it. Yeah.
Does the
I
meeting
can't
have,
speak for finance committee.
Okay.
does the meeting have to happen before your Tuesday? I mean, that was initially your goal, right?
I think preferable if there's feedback that we're getting from finance committee, or we want to be considerate of the feedback that we're receiving from the stakeholders. So I think that was our intention, to get the process started a little while ago. And then, I think once we received the email that they wanted the whole finance committee, that was more challenging to schedule. So we were able to proceed with the select board representative, school committee representative, myself, the finance and operations director, and Mr. Martin, to have our initial discussion.
I know you've been talking with Mr. Martin quite long since we met, so I don't see why, conversations couldn't continue after your meeting with the finance committee.
I would anticipate they
Yeah,
would.
I don't know what we would be able to speak to. And again, without Mr. Martin there, that's kind of, would speak to a lot of different things as far as the town budget.
Did you set up a Zoom meeting?
We have the go-to meeting.
I mean, we have
Kathy set up.
We have GoToMeeting, yeah.
That's the one, the link that we used. Kathy sent it to us, so we used the same link.
Okay, so would Kathy be setting or initiating it? And if she is, just have her record it, and then I can just listen to the recording. If that's what you want.
And I'm not sure what the intention was. I saw Mr. Libera reach out to Kathy, same thing that Mr. Martin said to set up the virtual meeting. So when we confirmed we were available on that date, we asked for the link to that meeting so that we could use the same post for our meeting.
Okay.
So
Let me check with Kathy tomorrow then.
Yeah, I don't think that, from what I can tell, I don't think the select board's gonna be part of it at this point. I think we've already talked about it, made the decision at that point. And if we need to meet after, if we feel there's a reason why to meet and have our entire board there, that's something we can discuss.
Of course. There was another date held with the finance committee next Thursday, which is another reason we chose one this week in case we did that. So that works for everyone.
And it's at 6:30 again? Next
Not a
Thursday?
set time for that
Okay.
one. I think we held 6 to.
Just tentative.
Okay.
Well, we did have an appointment at 5:30, and I think it's a little past 5:30 now. But we do have our new elected senator, Jake Oliveira. Correct? Did I get that right?
You got it
Oliveira?
right for a Portuguese name. You do better than most people. I mean, I go by Oliveira if you want to turn me Italian, Oliveras if you want to turn me Puerto Rican or Hispanic. Oliveira, though, that's the Portuguese one, so.
The only reason I know is because you told me. So.
Should I sit up here?
Absolutely.
All
welcome.
right,
Welcome.
terrific. Well, thank you so much. We've been going around, as you can probably imagine. We have a pretty diverse legislative state senate district with 12 communities that range in size from 2 cities of Springfield and Chicopee to many suburban communities like my hometown of Ludlow, and some smaller communities as well, including obviously here in Granby, Hamden, and also Warren are the 3 smallest communities in my district. But we are here to listen. We are here to solicit ideas, answer questions. I'm so pleased tonight to be joined by Jennifer Pickering, who's my district director. Jennifer worked for Senator Lesser beforehand as his district director, and I'm so thrilled that she stayed on board to be my district director. She's doing office hours in each one of the communities within the district, including here at the library in Granby, with obviously your 2 state representatives who were colleagues of mine in the House, and I'm looking forward to partnering with them, both Representative Dan Carey and Representative Mindy Dom, that share on the north side and then the south side of 202. But we're looking forward to working together to be open and with all the elected boards within the community. I've had an opportunity to chat with the superintendent at the superintendent's roundtable here a couple of weeks ago. And I myself, when you were having this discussion, I'm a recovering school committee member for 12 years in Ludlow, and also a 4-year representative town meeting member. So very familiar with local government, spent 16 years in municipal government myself, managing kind of some of the challenges as we face budget season coming up and preparing for our town meetings, but also some of the unique challenges that impact smaller and more rural communities that might be a little bit different than some of the cities or the suburban communities we represent. By way of background, I spent 2 years in the Massachusetts House of Representatives before getting elected to the Senate. So obviously working with Mindy Dom and Dan Carey is a priority of mine. So we speak as one voice for this community, even though that there are 3 legislators that are representing this community. I think more the merrier sometimes up on Beacon Hill. It's good to have. I'm so thrilled to be here today wearing red instead of green, which I've been sporting for far too long this month. So the red colors today and the pin that I'm wearing, it's St. Joseph's Day yesterday, celebrating the patron saint of Poland, which, being half Polish, my mom's 100%. We were in Chicopee earlier today for their flag raising for Polish Heritage Week this week. So just happy to be here, happy to tell you a little bit about some of the issues that we're working on in the legislature. Obviously, the budget is probably one of the biggest priorities that you're looking at going into fiscal year 24. We are in the throes of budget season in the legislature right now. Obviously, the House comes first when it comes to the budget in April, and then the Senate, I always say, plays cleanup in May. And hopefully, for all your purposes, we have a budget resolved by July 1st. Not always the case, but we will do our best to try to get there. A little bit about the committees that I am sitting on. You know, having spent 16 years in local government, I'm so thrilled that I'm now the chair of the Municipalities and Regional Government Committee in the legislature, which actually is the first stop for any home rule petition that goes before the legislature. And I know that you have one pending now with a few questions with Senate Counsel and the Secretary of State's office, and happy to offer up my staff to work to cut through any red tape and streamline and move forward any type of home rule petition that you might have for the community. My co-chair is Carol Fiola from Fall River, and the two of us, we already have a committee hearing set up for April 11th to deal with some of the home rule petitions that the legislature didn't deal with back in at the end of the last legislative session. So we're looking forward to meeting as quickly as possible, because we know that these home rule petitions that come from our communities have expiration dates. And if we don't meet certain deadlines, then sometimes you need to go back to town meeting or back to a municipal body in order to get approval again, in order to send it to the legislature. I'm also going to be the vice chair of the Tourism, Arts, and Culture Committee, which is actually going to be chaired on the House side by Mindy Dahm, and co-chaired on the Senate side by Paul Mark, who's a Western Mass legislator as well, meaning that this is going to be a very Western Mass focused committee since the leadership of it is from there. I'll also be vice chairing the Public Health Committee. Many of my 57 bills that I filed this legislative cycle really are geared to help local communities, local school district deal with rising costs. I was mentioning working closely with the Superintendents Association. One of the greatest cost drivers for school districts are special education costs. And with our private independent providers for out-of-district placements going up by over 14.5% going into the next fiscal year, that's a major cost driver for communities and school districts. I actually have a bill that raises the special education circuit breaker funding, which should be there to cover the extraordinary costs for school district, raising that from the 75% rate of reimbursement right now up to 90% to cover those costs. But I also have a bill kind of looking at those cost drivers over time. So similar to what the Student Opportunity Act did for a lot of our urban school districts like Springfield, Chicopee, and Holyoke, which raised up the foundation floor and pumped in greater state dollars into Chapter 70 for their urban school districts. That was all based on a bill that was passed in the legislature called the Foundation Budget Review Commission that was established, and really came up with a commission that reported back to the legislature and said, listen, these school districts have been chronically underfunded by the state, and the state needs to put X amount of dollars in over time. The bill that I filed is going to do the same thing for special education costs, because of the course that we're going on right now of the rising costs of special education that are impacting school districts and municipal finances to a great degree, would create a commission similar to what the Foundation Budget Review Commission did, and will report back to the legislature to take steps in order to help out school districts and communities that are being impacted by these major cost drivers. I also am working very closely right now to work that we make sure that our rural school districts in the budget are represented. Granby falls kind of in the middle range on there of being between a suburban and a rural school district, but many of the provisions in the rural school district bill that was reported out, the commission report, will pump in greater dollars into our rural school districts that have been underfunded over time and are facing kind of the decline in student population and a lack of funding that's been flowing in from the state. Working closely with my colleagues in the rural schools caucus to ensure that we fully fund our rural schools, so it's not falling on the ratepayer or the taxpayers locally for a lot of the gaps that we have in services. Aside from that, many of my other bills this legislative session are really trying to tame some of those cost drivers and provide regional equity for Western Massachusetts. You know, far too long, you know, our area of the Commonwealth is usually a little bit forgotten on in a lot of areas. And so working with the other members of the Western Mass Legislative Delegation, the other reps and senators, to speak as one voice for regional equity when it comes to funding for education, transportation costs, Chapter 70, Chapter 90, which are the lifeblood for a lot of municipal finances. We want to make sure that Western Mass gets our fair share. And so most of the bills that I've filed, and when I'm advocating, whether it's on the Senate or within the committee process, I look at everything from a regional equity lens for our region. So with that, I don't want to take up too much time speaking. I want to have more of a conversation. Happy to answer any questions that you may have, but also to be a voice for you. So don't hesitate to reach out to my office, me personally, or to Jennifer, or to any of the members of my staff. We are going to work hand in hand with our representatives to ensure Granby gets its fair share of funding and has an outplaced voice. I know in the past, your Veterans Memorial has been something that we've been able to secure some dollars for to help out with. And as we move forward, I'm happy to be there to be a voice for you and any local projects that you might have. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I will entertain any questions that you or the other members of the board might have.
Absolutely, and first of all, Senator, I really want to thank you for coming. We greatly appreciate it. We had a good relationship with Senator Lesser for many years, and for no reason do I believe that relationship that we had with him is going to carry over to you. I truly believe that, and I just listen to the few things you're talking about now shows that you do care about the small communities, and really that's what Granby is, a small community. So definitely looking forward to working with yourself in your office. Any questions for the senator?
I get a million of them. But
Okay, Rick, bring them on.
no, that's something I can talk to you later on.
Yeah,
So we can spend some time on it.
great.
Just tell him how much money we need. So,
He knows that's coming.
I know that's coming, and trust me, I mean, I've heard, so I've been going around to different select boards, school committee members, city councils, town councils, various different forms that I have in my district. And, the needs that we see, they're not just unique to one town. They pop up those same issues in every community. Those major cost drivers that are out there, the issues around Chapter 90 dollars for our roads and bridges, that's a lifeblood. In order to receive that, there is a small amount that we put towards Chapter 90. Working with Mass Municipal Association, we've been very active in trying to up that number, but also from the administration releasing those dollars to the communities so we can start those roads projects as soon as possible. I was listening in, talking about that remote and hybrid participation. We passed a supplemental budget a couple weeks ago in the Senate. It'll likely come back either this week or next week to extend remote and hybrid meeting options, which are very popular with a lot of communities and local boards and committees, to extend that for another 2 years. I actually have a bill working with Mass Municipal Association to make that permanent for every community because it's worked out very well, I think, over the last 3 years or so, giving people greater access to participating in their government, but also to help places meet quorum. Granby's part of CES, Center for Educational Services. There's, I think, over 24 school districts trying to get a quorum for that without a remote option is nearly impossible. So making sure we give you the tools that you need on the regulatory side, something that we're always looking at as well. Sorry, I could go on. Sorry. I go on.
I'm sure. But Senator, you touched on, I think, two popular things, is the Chapter 70 and the Chapter 90 money. And as those costs on our side go up, it's, we've nothing but seen the costs from the Commonwealth kind of go the opposite way. And I mean, we all know what it costs nowadays to educate a child or pave a road. It's got extremely expensive. So those two things there. And as you talked about, we look at, talking to our superintendent of our highway department, talks about really the Chapter 90 money, and having that money really does a nice job really spreading it out as much as we possibly can. But as we see, the roads deteriorate, and you have a bad winter or something like that with a lot of salt and stuff on the roads, it adds up and does some damage, and from to get out there and get things fixed. So it's nice to hear that, you know, that's some of your top priorities, because those small, that's small, but those type of areas, the chapter 7 and chapter 90, do impact a small town, a small community greatly. So that's something that I'm glad to hear.
Yeah.
Chris?
I just had a question as far as grants go. How involved do you guys get in the grants? Like if we apply for grants and stuff like that, I know some of the grants ask if you have either a representative of the House or Senate to back you up or write a letter of. So is that really what we look to your office for?
Absolutely. We can be as involved or not involved as you want us to be.
Okay.
And so if you're applying, you know, DEP grants for, you know, environmental cleanup, grants regarding, you know, transportation issues, grants regarding education issues, grants, you name it, at the state level, we're happy to be there, but use our office, you know, we can be kind of a traffic cop to some things. You know, some grants can be federal issues. You know, I was just with Congressman Neal and Senator Markey at an event in Chicopee on a EPA grant for some water and sewer cleanup in the city of Chicopee. And we have signed letters for many colleges and universities that have been applying for grants in our district at the federal level. And sometimes they ask for, you know, state legislators to sign on. Our office is happy to work with you. We can turn around stuff pretty quickly in our office as well. So if you're meeting a tight deadline with that, just let us know and we will make sure that we will get that for you to support whatever you have. And we'd be happy to coordinate with Representative Dom and Representative Carey as well to make sure that we're all on the same page with it. So absolutely.
Thank you. Will you be going to the April 1st Western and Rural Mass Conference?
I don't know because I have not looked that far in advance, but if it's on my calendar, it's on April 1st, which is a Saturday.
Yeah.
I have a Longmeadow Earth Day cleanup and another Belchertown meeting, but if you send us the invitation or if you forward it on to us, happy to take a look at it and try to fit it in with the schedule. It is April Fool's Day, so I hope you're not playing a joke on me right now and sending me to a different location, but you know, happy to, you know, if there are events, and this is the other thing, you know, feel free if there are events that you think we should be at, or, you know, we have 12 communities. There are a lot of things that we're at. If I can't be there personally, obviously we would love to have a member of our staff there as well. So if there are events that you have in the community and you'd like representation, we're happy to put it on there. Just let us know.
This is from the Massachusetts, it's the MMA.
It's through MMA.
Yeah.
I'll talk to I'm actually going to an MMA thing, I think this week, one of their forums. So their government affairs director at the MMA, I work with for about 8 years at the state university system. His name's Dave Kaufman. He's great. He does all the government affairs stuff. I'll ask Dave about it. We've partnered with MMA on several bills, including making remote participation permanent. I actually sat on MMA's local government advisory committee for 5 years as a school committee member, and so we met with the governor, lieutenant governor once a month for quite a while, so very connected with MMA, but happy to take a look at it.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Yep.
Okay.
Chris, anything else?
No, thank you.
All right.
Well, Senator, talk about hitting the ground running.
I know.
Thank you.
Really.
Lots.
Thank you.
But, you know, and definitely would probably end up in the near future, take you up on that offer. Because I'd like to do is actually have yourself, our House reps, Mindy Dobb and Dan Carey, maybe have some type of meeting where we can invite the public
Right.
and have a little question and answer type thing. It would be nice in the future. So I know with everybody's schedule is probably something that's going to be a little hard to arrange, but I think if we do it and plan on doing it, I think it'd be nice to do something like that. And as we talked about our local, you know, reps for our town, but also having our state, you know, delegation, having a chance to, you know, talk to the people and stuff like that, and really some of the things that we see from, you know, the state level, which we would like to have here for Granby.
Yeah, anytime, you know, I learn a lot, you know, I've been to your town meetings before. I mean, you get really a flavor of some of the issues that the town is facing when you, are, you know, show up and just sit in the bleachers at a town meeting. You get to hear a lot of what goes on. You know, having done that, we have a slightly different form in Ludlow with representative town meeting members that are elected. I did that for 4 years. My dad took my seat and he's still there right now after 14 or 16 years he's been on. So it's interesting, definitely. And I have kind of the spectrum in my district from, you know, 3-member select boards and open town meeting to 5-member select boards with representative town meeting to city council and strong mayors in Chicopee and Springfield to kind of a newer form, town councils and professional managers like Palmer and in East Long Meadow. So there's definitely, I have a mix of different districts and different forms, and I know that'll serve me well as chair of municipalities and regional government. Anytime on those home rule issues you need a conduit to kind of speed things up or ask some questions, don't hesitate to reach out. We're happy to do so.
Well, thank you again. We
Yeah.
appreciate you and your office, as well as
Yeah.
Jennifer, correct?
Yeah.
Coming out tonight.
Thank you.
Definitely, thank you so much.
Yeah, well, thank you, and have a wonderful rest of your meeting. This is a lot shorter than Warren's 3-member select board, which was 2.5 hours. So, they actually turned that into more of a Q&A with the public, and,
Yeah.
you know, but just thank you for the opportunity, and please, I hope to do this at least once a year, especially around budget time, and as I meet with your town administrator, get to know some of your priorities, and happy to put them up to the stage.
Appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
We might you can call when you need it, or email, or whatever you need
Thank
to
you,
do.
All right, thank you.
We, of course, will
Nice meeting you.
pass
Thank
everything on to
you.
them.
Okay, good to see you.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Well, it is 6 o'clock, and we do have our superintendent of schools, Mr. Sullivan. I want to welcome him. He'll be talking about the MSBA.
Thank you. So, tonight I am before you again with a statement of interest for the Massachusetts School Building Authority. So annually, they open up a statement of interest that allows schools to apply to get invited to partner with them, which provides some reimbursement to school building projects. This is, I think, the 3rd time in front of this board. My intention is to continue to submit a statement of interest, so it keeps the conversation open, it keeps an opportunity open. Should the town decide to move forward with a project at the junior senior high school. So the statement of interest in and of itself is 99% the same as it was last year. I will note on page 4 under project scope, I did make one minor change. It allows you to choose renovation, addition, rebuild, major repairs. The past couple years, we've been on the renovation addition. This year, I identified major repairs and listed out boilers, HVAC, windows, some of the projects. Again, I don't know if some of it is semantics. I feel like it is, but I think some of the conversations that we've had between school committee and finance committee and select board, I get the impression that some people might have the opinion that we're looking for a knockdown rebuild. That's not necessarily what we're looking for. That's a process with the MSBA that starts with a feasibility study that would provide some options. So just that was the one change to this document other than updating some dates and things like that.
Is the abatement for the asbestos tiles?
It's
what it is
abatement is included in the
Okay.
repair, yes.
Right, so what falls underneath that is the asbestos tiles?
Tiles.
What's ST for?
So there must be a character count when you're entering it in because I wrote student in front parking lots
Okay.
under that. So I noticed that as well, but when I went back to
Okay.
change it, it just must be a character count.
Do you have those in the priority list? I read it when you sent it to me, but
Yes, so they're listed out. So the priorities, MSBA gives you, I forget, 7 or 8.
it's the way you submitted is your priority?
Yeah, we submitted under priority 5 and 7, or we intend to submit under priority 5 and 7, but we listed out specific things. The idea, the scope of what is on our mind hasn't changed. I think we feel the building has good bones, but there's certain areas that are just in need of attention.
Anything else, Rick?
No, I read through it. With the last year, when you were working on the cafeteria, where's that project stand?
We're working with the town manager on that, so it was approved at town meeting. There was, it had to be approved by the chair of the Select and Finance Committee. That happened in late December, early January thereabouts. And we've worked with the town manager on the RFP for the kitchen project.
Got it.
So,
So it just needs to go out then, once you guys are done writing it?
yes.
I mean, I don't see why we wouldn't continue with the statement of interest. It keeps us in, well, keep us in the game, I would want to kind of say, you know, that's important that we don't, you know, it's there if we need it, or if we can figure out a way somehow, someday, that it does become that, whether it's repairs or renovation or a new school or adding on, whatever it may take, it's good to keep the interest and communication there, I believe.
Agreed. Agreed. And I just wouldn't want to miss an opportunity.
Chris, you have something?
If you look in the appointment folder, you are required to sign 3 documents for the submission of this statement of interest to the MSBA. One of them just basically outlines the priorities you're going under. The other one is the full document. And then the third one is the actual wording of the vote you have to do. And that has to be included with the submission to MSBA.
So for signatures, it's looking for the chief executive officer,
That's you.
okay, the school committee chair, and the superintendent of schools, okay.
In the past, the board had allowed me to sign on behalf of the
Yeah.
board,
I do,
but if you want, you can sign.
I do think that, I'd have to double check. I think those signatures go through that electronic portal now, you know, where you have to sign with your mouse.
So it doesn't look like your signature.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. It is. Yes.
Does anybody have any questions? Going forward? You want to see this?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's what he sent us.
Chris,
Lists
do you want me to
everything he
read
needs.
this one out?
That'll have to be officially the way you vote, because then I have to take it to the town clerk and have her sign and seal and verify that, attest that that is the actual vote that was taken.
Yeah, that's what he sent.
Yeah.
So Chris, my question is, and based off what Steve was saying, if it has to be electronically signed, that's something we'll probably have to have you do.
Okay.
So we'd have to give you the authority
You
to
have
sign.
to officially vote that I can sign on
Yeah.
behalf of the town.
All right, so having convened in an open meeting on March 20th, 2023, prior to the statement of interest submission closing date, the Select Board of GRANBY, Mass, in accordance with its charter, bylaws, and ordinances, has voted to authorize the superintendent to submit the Massachusetts School Building Authority a statement of interest form no later than April 14th, 2023, for the Granby Junior Senior High School located at 385 East State Street, Granby, Mass, which describes and explains the following deficiencies in the priority categories for which an application may be submitted to the Massachusetts School Building Authority in the future. Number 5, replacement, renovation, or modernization of school facility systems, such as roof boilers, boilers, heating and ventilation systems to increase energy conservation and decrease energy-related costs in a school facility. Number 7, replacement of or addition to obsolete buildings in order to provide for a full range of programs consistent with state and approved local requirements, and hereby further specifically acknowledges that by submitting this statement of interest form, the Massachusetts School Building Authority in no way guarantees the acceptance of the approval of an application, the awarding of a grant, or any other funding commitment from the Massachusetts School Building Authority, or commits the Granby Public Schools District to filing an application for funding with the Massachusetts School Building Authority. There we go.
So, it's a lot to say.
Yep. So I will make a motion to let the superintendent file the statement of interest for the MSBA under number 5 and number 7 that I just read, and to also give Chris Martin the authority to electronically sign the document.
Okay. Is there a second?
I will second that motion.
Is there any further discussion at this time? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Actually, let me be able to scan the sign. No. Right. Just have her swing by sometime tomorrow, I'll pick it up. Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
Do we have any citizen participation?
No.
What do you have for us, Chris? Anything?
I just have 2 items. I touched on one earlier. The Pioneer Valley Planning Commission is holding a regional opioid settlement discussion on March 22nd, 2023, starting at 6 p.m. And basically what they're looking at trying to do is they're going to give a settlement update. They're going to talk about local community connections and collaborations, and then maybe formalizing funding transfer process and any other items that the attendees want to talk about. I think what they're trying to do is find ways of creating more regionalized type of approach to the opioid user disorder.
I mean, that makes sense. Instead of everybody doing their own thing, kind of come together and figure out which is the best interest to, put something together as a, as a community together, and kind of put all the information, all those funds together to come up with the best, possible solution, instead of each, everybody kind of doing their own thing and separating the funds and things like that.
Mm-hmm. So.
Long overdue.
Next topic is on Wednesday morning, I will be meeting with the town administrator for the town of Hadley. I had mentioned before about looking at regionalizing our building inspectional services department. And we will be moving forward with trying to come up with a plan to do that.
Okay.
Okay. And the third item I have is I received notification from the state. We had our free cash certified. The general fund was certified at $1,797,690. The sewer enterprise was $409,980. The ambulance enterprise is $321,268. And the municipal solid waste enterprise is $166,072.
Were there any surprises or anything like that? I mean, everything got where we thought it was going to be? Nothing?
It's in the ballpark.
My fear is for the, as I hear you mention, the solid waste, my fear is for the upcoming years. How much that, it's going to increase. So for us to look.
It's gonna increase dramatically, because what we're hearing is that if we continue with curbside collection, they're gonna wanna make it where the driver does not get out of the truck at all. So we may end up having to invest in barrels for every location that they pick it up, for both recycling and municipal solid waste, which will be a pretty penny.
Yeah.
So,
It sounds like that's what a lot of the cities and towns are going to, because that's what the companies want.
yep. So, just be prepared. So, and basically that's the three topics I had under me.
All right.
Chris, on the Pioneer Valley one, is there, wasn't there another one that needed to be filed by April with another company in that correspondence? I was looking in here, I didn't see it, but it's for the opioid, where if you want to be part of the second part of the settlement, you had
We
to.
already just signed up.
Okay, that's what I thought, so I just wanted to verify because it was in the reading.
The first
That if
one
you wanted
the
to-
first one was against Johnson & Johnson
Yes.
and CVS. And then the second one was against another 5 additional,
Yeah.
Companies.
Okay.
okay? And I had already, actually, I mentioned that at one of our
Oh, one of
earlier
the other
meetings.
Yes, you did.
Okay.
Okay.
And combined with all 7 of them, we're gonna get probably a little over $500,000 over a 10-year period, so.
Is that like an average for local towns getting that?
Actually, no, it's, because we're a small community.
Yeah.
We're getting a smaller share of the state settlement. If we were a larger community, we would get more. So it's basically based upon, I think, our size in relation to all the other communities that had signed up to participate in the class action suit.
That goes back to my point I was making earlier. You put more people together, you may be able to serve the public better.
Mhm.
Just my take on it, instead of everybody doing their own individual thing.
So,
All right, you have the departmental reports? Anybody have any questions? Everybody get a chance to review them?
Yeah, I've read them. Just,
You have any
can we
questions?
find out what these people are here for? Should we,
I think it's the number 6.
Yeah, I'm assuming that's for, the license for the
okay, got it.
Legion. Go to 266 Lounge, that's just the Legion.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion to accept the departmental reports.
Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Is there any discussion in regards to it?
I just had I was actually hoping Chief O'Grady would be here. I was curious, Chris, do you know how the East Street sign's been working out for them? It doesn't relay data to them, right? It just, it's a solar panel that just lights up and tells them what their speed is. It doesn't go back to the police station after that, does it?
it doesn't go, I think you can download it though.
Oh, okay.
I think you access it through the internet and then you can download it.
I was just curious if they were catching like a
I
lot of
want-
speeders there, I guess.
Well, they're not gonna catch speeders. It basically, it's just gonna show you how many people are
average.
actually following the posted speed limit.
Okay.
And it'll give them data to whether or not to put a cruiser there on certain hours of the day
Right.
probably. And
Okay. And the only other question I had too was about the boiler. Jeremy had wrote in his report, boiler number 1, is that for the police station? It didn't say a location or which building, it just said boiler number 1 not working.
give me a second. That was the old West Street building.
Okay.
Because that has 2 boilers in it, and he was concerned that the second boiler wouldn't be able to keep it to proper temperature during the cold season.
Good news, the spring is here.
I know.
524?
How was it?
Chris, I'm glad you brought up about the, what do they call that, for the speedometer, for the
Speed
speed?
traps or, not really
Yeah.
traps.
The speed posting sign that will
Yeah.
flash what you're actually doing.
Right, and I wanted to talk to the chief about that. I think the location needs to go back further towards the level line. I think it's deceiving that when you come upon it, the speed limit in that section is 35 miles an hour, but you go another 1,000 feet up the road, there's now 30 miles an hour. So I think we
It's
could.
just for that bend, I think.
I know, but when people see a flashing light or the flashing.
Oh, you think it's gonna give them permission to go 40?
No. I'm saying it shows the speed limit, and then within 1,000 feet, the speed limit drops down to 30 from 35. So I think you may be looking at pushing that back towards the level line where there might be a good area for it. So I looked at several spots, might be a better spot for it.
So do you want it in the, where it's posted at 30 versus 35, or?
No, I think it's all be nice if it was pushed back, like I said,
To the
towards
top of the hill?
top of the hill or something like that, because that's when, you know, that piece there, if you look at even the closer we get back to where the Ludlow line, Granby line is, I think that spot right there starts off in Granby at 35, so I think that'd be, you know, a better location for it, that you have more of a stretch of that road being 35 miles an hour versus, you know, changing to 30 from where it is now. That little stretch there, it's, you know, it's probably a couple 1,000 feet. Around the turn, it's 30 miles an hour. Majority of the road is 35 until you get down towards the Cumberland Farm, but it drops down to, I think, 25. But
I think it goes up shortly after that 30, once you get past New Ludlow Road.
well,
I think it goes back up.
it goes back up to 35, then
Yeah.
drop like that. So I'm just thinking that it might be better served as, you know, people are coming down the road, because I'm sure other people must be thinking the same thing, not just me.
It's by the winery, back down 25 at that turn.
Other turn, yeah.
Did he say it was easy to move or no?
No, because it's supposed to be a permanent one, but it's, I mean, it's obviously just a post that's put in the ground, so I don't know.
Ask David that question.
It's just, and that's all, I just said, you know, I'd like to talk to Chief about it and kind of get his thoughts on it.
Would you like me to have him come next meeting?
That'd be great, yeah.
Okay.
I just think it's, when I see it in, you know, 1,000 feet or so up the road, it drops down to 30. I don't think that's fair to, you know, not fair, but it's like, it just seems strange that, you know,
Speed limit's the speed limit. The sign's there, whether you got a flash on one or not, I think you should obey it. I don't know if we need to.
that's not what I'm
Yeah.
saying. I'm just saying when you see a flash,
Fair.
but when you see that, it indicates to people, the speed limit's 35. And I think if people aren't paying attention, as you go up the road 1,000 feet, it drops down to 30. When you just saw a flashing sign saying 35.
Well, you
saying.
parked a cruiser where it's 30.
They are parked there a lot.
Probably
Police
misleading.
parked there all the time.
It's not made to be a got you. It's made to help people recognize their speed and be conscientious and slow down.
I don't know, does the board want to move item number 6 to the top of the agenda, or?
Well, I was just gonna do
Yeah.
that after I finish up with
Okay.
this, so, we'll just call for a vote, unless there's any more discussion.
No.
All in favor of approving the departmental reports?
I,
Aye.
Anybody against? So I'd like to invite people up here from, like, let's say you're representing the lounge, the 266 Lounge. I'll move you up, so you don't have to wait for us to go through our business. What are you doing?
hey Steve.
Just need to state your name and who you are and
Steve
why you're
Kerr,
here.
Steve Kerr, the manager of the Granby Legion Lounge, and we are here for Charter Day approval. All the paperwork should be filed, the permits paid. The only thing I don't have submitted yet is the insurance for the town, which I have 3. I'm waiting on 2 more quotes, hopefully to get those filed this week.
Alright, so I'll read the notice of approval of the special license for both days. Want to do it day by day?
I'd actually want to just hold off on that till we actually have the insurance approval. There's no time frame that, right?
Well, we usually try and ask 2 months before the event that the application be put in and we approve it.
I mean, I don't have a problem with it myself being approved. However, I'd just like that we have all the
Well,
documentation.
we won't issue it until, we won't cash the check and we won't issue it until the final
Insurance
document is
The
in.
other two.
Well, we can do
insurance.
That makes sense.
Well, then we can approve it pending insurance approval, that's all.
Receipt of the insurance
Right,
coverage
yeah.
document.
That's all.
Yeah.
All right, so so notice of approval of a special license, the local licensing authorities of the within named city or town have approved pursuant to the provisions of Chapter 138, Section 14, issuance of a special license as described herein. So Town of Granby, date is March 20th, 23. Date of the event is June 9th, 2023. Name of licensees, Granby American Legion, doing business as 266 Lounge Incorporated, 74 Pleasant Street, Granby, Mass. And date of license is for June 9th, 2020. It says 22, but it should say 23.
What was that?
It says June 9th, 2022 instead of 2023. So authorized hours of sales is 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. on June 9th from 5 p.m. to 9:45 p.m. 2 drinks per person, and then 9:45 to 10 p.m. 1 drink per person. And description of licensed premises is Dufresne Park area, Kendall Street side, for charter day and confined designated tent, a larger than 40 by 80 area with only 1 entrance and 1 exit. License for sale of wines and malt beverages only. Licensed activity or enterprise is a nonprofit. So restrictions attached to the license by the local authority. Police officers must be on duty as assigned by the police chief at all times. Beer and wine is to be consumed only within the contained fenced-in area with only 1 entrance/exit. The checking of patron IDs is the responsibility of the licensee, and no one under 21 years of age is allowed inside the tent. Hours of sales are from 5 to 10 p.m. So I did notice from the one that was sent to us, this had changed, because I believe that we had agreed that they could serve until 10:15 last year.
Police chief wants it 10 o'clock.
But
Police chief wants it 10 o'clock.
But the band's gonna play till 11.
Then that gives them an hour to finish up their beer.
Is there any reason why he changed it besides?
Because he wants 10 o'clock. He prefers it to be 10 o'clock. Again, he'll be here at the next meeting. If you want to delay the whole thing to the next meeting, you can.
I feel like it's a discussion for, to have with the police chief, because there was a lot of events that I've been to as well where they feel like the beer tent is forcing people to drink more because they have to stay in this confined area and drink it faster instead of walking around with their family. I just feel like it's worth a discussion. We've had no problems the last 2 years that we've done it, and I know we took a break because of COVID. But I think it's at least worth a discussion with the chief. And we had no problem ending at 10:15 last year, and they still were out of there by 11. Of course, parking wise, as far as the rides go to 11 too. So,
We're not allowed to walk around with it, though. Is that what you
No.
were saying?
no, in other events they are, and here in Granby they are not.
Other events not in this town.
Correct.
I mean, I don't know if you want to have that discussion, Chris, with the chief, I don't see a problem with it. I mean, especially if it went from last year from 10:15 to 10 o'clock, and, you know, there's some concerns with that.
What's the
That is,
difference?
that's changed than what it was from the past year, so that's something we can definitely follow up with the chief about.
So we're talking 15-minute difference.
Remember the band's on till 11. So that 15 minutes does make a difference because everyone starts piling out when they can't get a drink. And then there goes the whole crowd for the band, and the band's playing for a reason. We're paying them a lot of money to be there.
I don't think 15 minutes is that big of a deal.
Well, then we can go the other way with it. If it's not a big deal, then why can't we serve till 10:15?
I just think, and being fair,
It's,
Well, and the police chief's not here to have a discussion.
I want to go back to the happy hour days. when we used to get 2 for 1, you had guys with the pitchers of beer, then you were throwing them out and you got into fights. We used to run a bar, so I know what it's like. And it's not a good thing. I get it, it's a good fundraiser for these guys, but I don't think 10 o'clock to 10:15 is a big deal, and I'm gonna side with the chief on 10.
So I'm not looking to side with anybody right now. I'm just, based on what Crystal said, last year was 10:15, this year's 10 o'clock. I'd like to hear the reason why behind it as well, and why the change was made. And if there hasn't been any issues in the previous years, then what was
But if you look at the original application, the request was till 10:30.
And
On
then,
the
but
front.
then the Saturday one says till 10:15, so there's just discrepancy in Friday to Saturday.
Do you have a big band on Friday night too?
That's actually our bigger band, is
So-
on the Friday night one, but it's not Trailer Trash. It's, oh God, I can't remember their name.
Something
Change Up.
Change?
Yeah, Change Up. Actually, we got the name from Lieutenant Puller for the band.
I don't think there's a, why we can't wait till next week, and the chief will be here, and, I mean, the form, the license itself needs to be updated, because there's a wrong date on it. So I don't think there's anything that's waiting until next week, our next meeting. Like I said, I think we're all okay with it being approved.
Yeah.
We just have to discuss the time.
And that might give you time to get the insurance.
Yeah, I'll get done by then.
Yeah.
The only other question I have is, do we still have the families come in till 4 with strollers and stuff when we were doing that?
On Saturday,
Yes.
yep, it says till 4.
I was on the board when this all came about
Yeah.
several years ago, so I know a lot of time and effort, discussion went into it, deciding what was allowed, what wasn't allowed. So I just want to, like I said, there's a change on it, so I want to see the reason why there's a change. If previous years it was 10:15,
And we've never had an issue. All the years that we've been doing it, we've never had a
I
problem.
was curious. That's all.
Okay.
We'll hold on that till our next meeting. Are we okay with that?
Yep.
Good.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Well, thank you.
Same time next week?
2
No, we're not
weeks,
here next week.
It's not
We're
week,
making
it's
a
April 3rd.
April 3rd.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you,
And
Steve.
honestly, I mean, you don't have to be here if you don't need, I mean,
Well, we'll probably be here, I'm sure maybe one of our other guys will have some questions too.
okay, all right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. I'll put that over here. Go back up to the top.
Yes, we'll go back to number 2, we have approved and signed maintenance warrants. If any, I know we have some.
Yeah, we do.
All right, so I will make a motion to approve warrant number 56 dated March 10th, 2023, in the amount of $123,717.38, and it's a bills payable warrant.
Is there a second?
Make a motion. Oh, I didn't hear.
There's a motion, yes.
I'll second that motion to approve that.
Is there any further discussion?
Chris, I was just curious, could you refresh my memory on the special town meeting from 5/23/22? It was a payment that was done for $10,300. Was that for the tractor? Or the parts that we got from it? It was 192, so I think that's building maintenance, right? 192, if I remember
Yeah.
correctly.
10,300. Who was the payment made to, do you remember?
It said 192 special town meeting, so 192 would be.
No, that's an article that was approved.
Oh, the business, I didn't write down the business, it was.
Does Bernesh sound familiar?
Bernesh.
L.N. Bernesh?
That's it would be right here, because it was right at the beginning too. I can look right now.
What did we purchase back then?
We had given permission for Jeremy to buy that canvas structure so that he could put his equipment under cover.
Okay,
The original amount was like $40,000, but when they came to get their building permit from the building commissioner, he required the canvas to be non-flammable. So it cost an additional $10,300 to get a non-flammable canvas versus the canvas that was quoted to us,
It's under La Framboise.
a framboise.
Yeah. And it says, special town meeting
Oh,
5/23/22.
that was a payment on the public safety repairs to get us off the boiler up there and to get finalized on the softener system.
Okay,
That's what that was, the final payment.
thank you. That was the only question I
That's
had.
okay, that's okay. Like, just so many numbers that,
You give enough information, jogs his memory.
yep, yep.
That was it, sorry.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? I think we actually were in the discussion part of that.
Yeah.
So it's hard to confirm.
Next one is warrant number 57, which is a payroll warrant in the amount of $473,395.58. So I'll make a motion to approve warrant number 57.
I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you.
Next one is warrant number 58, dated March 17th, 2023, in the amount of $143,917.99, and this is a maintenance warrant.
Second.
I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion?
No.
No? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Thank you. Is that it?
Yep.
All right.
Great warrant.
Have any minutes?
Our minutes, they got sent later today. I didn't get a chance to read over all of them.
I didn't see if they got sent later today.
Yeah, they got sent about 2:40.
Well, we just wait till next meeting,
Okay.
so I have a chance to review them.
Okay.
So we'll have time now to review them.
Yeah.
Okay with that.
All right. Next on the agenda is the community one-stop.
As requested, I put together two projects to be submitted to the Community One-Stop grant application process. First one had to deal with West Street Building, to see if we could maybe get some funds to assist us in the renovations of that building. And the second one was for infrastructure, which was to address sewer and water along first the 202 corridor, and then eventually, hopefully, to be able to branch out to side streets in other parts of town. And it was filed on Friday, March 17th, which was the due date for submissions of expressions of interest.
Chris, did you notice, did it tell you after you confirmed it? I kind of looked at the other one that confirmed it. Did it have like a date of when they'll get back to you, or it's kind of in their hands and they'll let us know?
It's under the review process.
Okay,
That's all I can tell you. That's the next bubble on the timeline,
yeah.
is
Okay.
under review.
And I know ours is due in June. I have the date on a spreadsheet at home, but like the final one for the project is due in June. So this is supposed to give us guidance on what wording to do and what we have to do to get the grant.
So it's been filed?
Yep.
It was filed.
All right.
That's all I can tell you.
All right, well, we'll wait and see what happens.
Thank you, Chris, for doing that. I know it was short notice, and I know you had a lot on your plate, but I really appreciate you doing that for the town.
Yeah, I just had to tell the auditors, leave me alone.
Next we have to sign our sewer permit, 23-194 and 23-195.
Let me give a little explanation on this. The 23-194 was presented at the last meeting as 191. However, in going back and looking at records, the Cold Hill houses that are connected were 191, 192, and 193. However, they were never finalized because we never got the final documents from the engineer on that project. That's why I didn't know that they existed. So, I am going to forward them to the collector to be included in the next sewer commitment, okay? 191 is now 194, which was the 418 Miller Street address that was inspected and approved by South Hadley, when it shouldn't have, because their address is actually within the confines of Granby. So, that's why I'm having you sign the correct permit number for that address. And then I'll address the next one, the 23-195, is we did the research on the Pioneer Valley Chapter 8 building at 104 West State Street. And no permit was ever issued, because I don't think we really knew that they had connected. So I had David check it out, and based upon the plan designs that they were there, it looks like they did connect to the system.
Well, do they have a septic system?
He,
No,
he,
so they
he,
must be connected.
he says it showed a lift station on their property to bring it up to the main pipe that is going down 202. The other issue is, and I'll bring this up at the same time, we had talked about our neighbor next door being increased to 32 units.
Yeah.
There are 32 units there, number one. David went and counted the doors, okay? However, we have not heard back from South Hadley if it was for 2023 or 2024 that it was going to increase. Both David and I think it's 2023. Otherwise, she probably would have waited on issuing that email to us. So, do you want me to rewrite that letter with a new date to the new property owners over there, indicating that their sewer billing is going to jump dramatically?
Because they were listed at 10 or 11, right?
They were at 10 and a half. They're jumping from 10 and a half EDUs to 32 EDUs.
And the explanation is because they're apartments now, not
Because there's
temporary.
32 units, and per the regulations that we signed in conjunction with South Hadley for them to treat the waste from
Yeah,
here,
that makes sense.
that we they're all considered individual units, and therefore,
Individual bills.
they're one EDU for a 1 and 2 bedroom unit.
I would actually like a response from South Hadley to verify that's an error, instead of us sending out something
I'm-
and
I'm-
then find out we were wrong. And
I sent an email
Yeah.
asking her, and I haven't heard back. So I
That's- yeah.
think the next step is to just call
yeah,
and see if I can actually reach her and say, was it 23 or 24?
I'd like to have that
I
confirmed, that
remember you
way.
talked about that last
Yeah.
time, yeah.
So that way, if we're gonna send a bill out for 2023, which is gonna be 3 times as much as the regular bill they've had, it's
Yep.
quite the jump. I wanna make sure that it's correct and we're not, so.
So I'm just saying, I'm just letting you know that we have followed up on some of the issues that
Could
were,
be 2024, and she was just trying to give fair warning.
I doubt it, but
We'll find out.
All right, so for the disposal works construction permit, number 23-194, permission is hereby granted to Heather Leclerc for a constructed sewer or drain at 418 Miller Street in Grammy, Mass, as shown on the application to install sewer or drain connection number 23-194, dated September 14th, 2022. So I'll make a motion to approve the construction permit number 23-194.
Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion at this time? No?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed?
So actually, Chris, I had a question more for you, for kind of just how they do it. So now that they paid South Hadley, does that mean Granby doesn't get the permit and all that because they went through South Hadley for all of that? Okay, so I went to South Hadley then, and then now we're just recognizing that they are.
no, we're gonna charge them for use, period.
Okay. Oh, there's the other one. I was wondering where it went.
Did you mean money for the permit or money for?
Yeah, money for the permit, just because I know everything that you get a permit for is money, so
Yeah.
that's what I was questioning. All right, next one is for disposal work construction permit for number 23-195 for Pioneer Valley Chapter 8 to construct sewer drain at 104 West State Street, Granby, Mass, as shown as on the application to install sewer drain connection number 23-195 dated March 20th, 2023.
Second?
I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you.
And on that one, we will be issuing them a bill for the permit fee to connect.
Right, because they're obviously they're not on the line.
Yeah, so,
How long have they been connected for?
that I don't know. I think what I'm gonna do is maybe get in touch with the Board of Health and see if maybe in their records they can determine when they actually connected.
It's concerning that they hooked up and they're finding out about it now.
Right. I wanna say it's probably, when did we move in here? We moved in here 2018, 2019? I think,
To hear?
to here. So,
Before that.
was it 16 that we moved in here?
I don't remember.
Probably.
So, been 6
When I
years.
was on the personnel board,
Before
we've
that.
been
Been here for a
a
while.
while.
This is longer than
At
that.
least eight years.
So,
Yeah.
time flies when you're having fun in here.
Yeah, it's
so.
longer than that, because
So they had that built and they moved out of here.
yeah, but that building's been out there for a while, too.
Well, maybe I can look at some of the planning records and see when
Yeah,
they were
it was
approved,
some time ago.
so. Oh, yeah,
Time goes by quick.
it sure does.
All right. Does anybody have anything for our next meeting want to discuss?
I do.
No.
Excuse me. I talked to Andrew Smith from the Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Board, and he gave me two things that he really would like Granby, or suggests that Granby should concentrate on in order to be eligible for grants moving forward. One of them was the 2018 planning grant that was started. So it was done back in 2018 for Granby's priorities that they wanted. I did write those down. It was hiring a consultant zoning bylaws for 2020 action grant, properly funding the tree warden and forestry expenses, provide funding, road infrastructure and maintenance, better the town board committee coordination to mitigate problems, and the Route 202 project, and promote economic development to increase tax revenue, or by getting an economic development consultant. So he had suggested that one of the priorities that I had talked to him about is how we were trying to get the town hall, where we get all our town offices in one area. So he had suggested the best thing to do is to go back to that planning grant from 2018 and rewrite it, because it's not uncommon for municipalities' priorities to change over time. They are actually doing what's called an MVP 2.0 in April, which he highly suggested that we apply for it. So it would allow us to update our plan, and they're going to allow it to 5 communities for each region. And in that training, they're going to use an equity training lens, a community liaison from public health, in which they look at vulnerable populations, or priority populations is what they're calling them now. But he said that there's going to be a planning funding and a seeding funding. So if we go through with the MVP 2.0 is what they're calling it in April, and we apply for it and we get it, they'll give us the planning funding to look at our plan and redo it based on the priorities that we have now. And they'll also, he said it's a guaranteed funding for a small seed of $50,000 to build a skill set that for people in the town to be a part of the planning. So as soon as he said, just be on the lookout for it, that it will come out this April, and he thinks that Granby has a really good chance of getting it.
Look out
So-
for where?
The MVP 2.0. So the Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness
Okay.
Committee is going to release it in April.
The MMA people?
No, MVP is what it's called. I think Chris and Dave are on the MVP committee.
That hasn't been reappointed since back in 2018.
Oh, I thought that
Or-
was on our appointments that we did last year
I
when I
remember
started.
doing the MVP ones, but
Okay.
Well, guess what?
But besides that one, he had, which Chris is working on right now too, he said to update our open space and recreation plan since it's outdated from 2015.
that's the one I applied for DLTA funds.
Yes. Did you apply in March or not, sorry, not March and February, or was it March? Do you
Whenever the
remember?
due date was through the PVPC, Pioneer Valley Planning
Oh,
Commission.
perfect, because Catherine had asked me if we had applied for it, and I said, I know Chris was working on it, so I'll check with him. Because like
I
you
submitted it to, I hand drove it down and hand delivered it at the door that day it was due.
Okay. All right.
So that-
Awesome, because she said if we didn't make the deadline, she could find federal funds that we could possibly use through grants. But if we made the deadline, then we should be good to go.
Never heard back from them, but, you know,
Okay.
'cause I remember I had it was still, the building was still locked up due to COVID. You had to ring the bell
Oh,
and
somebody-
be granted entry into the kingdom.
Okay.
That's the one in South Hadley, up on the hill.
No, they're in, they're,
Springfield.
60 Congress Street in Springfield.
No?
And Chris, you got my email from Catherine Rattay with the spreadsheet that she
And I
wanted for the green
haven't
communities.
gotten into it because I've been
Yeah.
doing,
The auditor and stuff.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Right. And then just for next time, Chris, I don't know if you have this yet, but maybe a GCAM update, because I know Mr. Bale wants to go out with a press release and he wants to know where we stand.
He took the financial records back from me because he needed them, and he hasn't brought them back to me yet, so.
Okay.
Was there something you sent out on the dredging? That I saw you updated on the dredging thing or something?
Oh, they're starting, the
business.
team is coming in, I think Wednesday and Thursday, to start their marking out of the pond area.
And the forestry project, there was something about that
That's dead in the water for this year,
for this year?
Yeah.
because it never dried out enough for them to be able to
Get their trucks.
bring their equipment in without destroying the landscape. So they're hoping to do it next winter time.
The 2 sections or just the
One.
original one?
We're just gonna do the one, I think, even though I wanted him to try and start mapping out the second section. Because doing the second section, he will be, the first round was really taking out a lot of the dead timber.
Yeah.
This next round, they'll be taking out some live timber. So, that may require a little more public upfront discussion.
Anything else, Crystal?
And I know this is on your radar, Chris, with the senior work-off program, but just keep it on your radar because I know it's got to be worked into fiscal year 2024 as you're planning it out. So I know you and the finance committee were going to get together with the possibility of number of slots, and then the select board has to decide on how we want to pick those slots. Is it going to be a lottery? Is it going to be a certain amount of veterans, or how we can fairly?
We can look at assigning a number to it, so that it is budgeted for next year, and go from there.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else?
No.
Okay. No.
Yes, Chris
Sorry.
has something else.
Regarding the meeting schedule for next month, you indicated you're leaving that third week of April.
Yeah.
Me too.
I will not be here on
So-
April 17th.
So are we gonna delay it 1 week from the 17th?
17th is a holiday, isn't it?
Well, it would have been the 18th, but she's gone that week.
I am too.
So do we want to delay it 1 week?
Is the 17th a holiday? I don't have a holiday on the 17th.
Yeah, it's Patriots Day,
How come that doesn't say it on the online calendar?
because it's not an official federal holiday, it's a Massachusetts holiday
I
only.
didn't say that.
And that gives you probably 1 extra day to file your income
tax,
taxes, because in Massachusetts, it's a holiday.
The 24th?
So we'd be coming here on the 3rd, and then we'd do the 24th.
Works for me.
Sounds good.
Thank you
Alright.
for reminding me of that, Chris. I know I sent it a while ago, and then I forgot to mention it.
That was on my request to have.
So I did mention it to Senator Oliveira about the MMA Western and Rural Mass Conference. I don't know if you guys get those emails, but it's on April 1st from 8 to 1:30. Senator Natalie Blaze, Senator Joanne Comerford are going to be there for rural priorities. The state auditor, Diana, I don't know if I'm going to say her name correctly, Diazagolia, is also going to be there for rural community priorities. Senator Paul Mark about Chapter 90 funding.
It's a Saturday?
It's a Saturday. Those are the only ones I can go to, so when I noticed that. And it's at the Delaney House in Holyoke.
Yeah. Do we gotta call, tell them we're going?
It's an RSVP, so I can have Chris send
I
you the
didn't
link.
get, I didn't get it. Think you're going?
No, I'll be in Long Meadow with the senator.
you're gonna answer, you can put me in.
I'm not going.
Oh, okay. If you're gonna answer, you can put me in.
Oh, I already answered. You have to sign yourself up through the MMA.
Oh, okay.
Let me see if I can find it and I'll forward it to you, Rick.
Thank you.
Anything else? No. You sure? You said that before. All right, well, with that said, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I will make a motion to return the meeting.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second whatever she said.
Let's adjourn the meeting.
I kinda heard
Someone-
some mumbling over there. About adjournment, yeah.
Any further discussion? No?
No.
All in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, thank you all.